Yeah, so like with cultivating the regenerative state, a lot of times we talk about like vagal tone. You're talking about rest and repair. Like the degenerative state is when the defense mechanisms of the body or the sympathetic part of the nervous system are hyperreactive or have lost tone, and so that causes degeneration in the body. But even if you diminish that, it doesn't necessarily mean that your body's regenerating. And so regenerating is tied to rest and repair mode. And so with that particular aspect, a lot of times we're talking in the past about the vagal tone. And here we'll still talk about vagal tone and do a little treatment of that. But also you're looking at the potential of healing, going into the healing process or deeper levels of parasympathetic activity that is beyond your normal parameters. So say if like you really get injured or if you really get sick or the body has like some sort of crisis or something, to be able to go deeper and deeper and deeper into that repair mode. And it has an impact on the emotions, it has an impact in the mind, and it's actually even tied to um, like spiritual states, like deeper spiritual states. And so, like I'm looking up here just to see, make sure I'm not mistalking here. So, part of the idea with regeneration is yes, you're regenerating your body, yes, you're able to repair, but part of it is you're 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 stepping away from the idea of looking at symptoms. And it goes back to kind of what I was saying about that flower. Like you have these like symptoms and these things going on in your body and your emotions and your mind, and they're really more driven externally. But there's a part of you inside that is manifesting that. Like it's not that it's like, oh, my emotions are doing that or my mind is doing that, but when the body is like in a degenerative state or lacks the ability to regenerate, part of what happens is you start manifesting these symptoms or these conditions in your body. And so like talking with Lolly, like where there was a pretty serious car accident so long ago, like it was probably like, I don't know, I think she said 20 years or something, right? And so, you go, oh, I get a little rest, I feel a little bit better. And if you talk to people who are going through things, they're chasing symptoms a lot and not really getting a lot of relief because the body is in a degenerative state. So even if you treat the symptoms, your body's still degenerating, right? And so you're slapping band-aids on things, but it's not getting better. Well, the flip side of it is sometimes our body doesn't have the greatest ability to heal or to regenerate. And so we want to start working these aspects of regeneration. And so, yes, it's vagal tone and yes, it's working the energy body somewhat. Um, but if I go through and I look at some of the things that I was putting in the class, we're going to be working with cerebral spinal fluid circulation. We're going to be working with the five senses. We'll be working with some of the aspects of the intuitive mind. We'll be trying to shift how the brain is connected to the body. We've dabbled with some of this here and there, but this is going to take it to a much deeper degree. And the idea being that for example, like you have a very strong like love experience, right? Like you go, oh, I feel really good. I feel really nice about this. I've had meditation, I have bliss. And then you kind of go to your brain and you let the brain kind of absorb some of that nice feeling and it shifts how the brain works and it shifts your body's ability to regenerate and it diminishes some of the defense mechanisms and things like that. But it also goes the other way. Like at some point, the brain is manifesting that sense of well-being or that ability to heal in the body as well. And so we'll be playing with aspects of going back and forth to, I don't even know that I'd call it like healing the body. It's almost like soothing the body out of um out of that place where it just doesn't heal or it doesn't shift, it doesn't regenerate, it doesn't rest. And so we'll even be looking at, some aspects of sleep that's very specific to this. And then anytime you play with cerebral spinal fluid circulation, a lot of times what you're having to do is sedate it, like you're having to calm it down, which calms down the defense mechanisms of the body and allows it to heal, like allows the body to heal. So you're stimulating deeper levels of parasympathetic activity. And so we'll even be looking at, like, if you clench your jaw, for example, it makes the nerves hyper reactive, like your sensory nerves start firing more. It makes your adrenals overactivate. It makes your breath go short and rapid. It exaggerates and intensifies stress in the body, especially in the internal organs, just because the jaws are tense or wound up. So, we've talked about having the jaw technique that we put out there, but we're going to look at working the jaw, but we're also going to look at bruxing, which is the tendency to grind the teeth. And, it's not just always going to be treating the jaw. Part of the thing with treating bruxism or grinding, teeth grinding is there's also this muscle like under here that will cause it. And then also calf muscles. And so there's going to be ways that we go through and work that to just try to unwind all those components. But bottom line, even if you look at it from the point of view of energy, a lot of times what is deepening the level of healing is the balance between lower consciousness and higher consciousness. And the more that you tap into higher consciousness, the more that the body heals, the more the emotions heal, the more the mind heals. And so we're going to be working on this way of making a transition from being like more like, because the average person is like super excessively lower consciousness, right? And then as we kind of grow and develop, we start to bring in a little higher, and there's still a lot of lower, but it's literally like kind of disengaging that lower and moving it up into higher functioning, up in the upper centers of your energy body. But that that aspect is you're shifting into higher consciousness, and higher consciousness actually divides up into three. There's waking consciousness, there's sleeping consciousness, and there's dreaming consciousness. And so, when we look at it, I'm going to say this, it's not going to be this technical in the class, but it's just kind of interesting. When we talk about like spadgery, when we're talking about, there's salt, sulfur, and mercury, right? Like there's these three components, or the three primes. The they're working. Those are physical manifestations of these three states of consciousness. Like that's why when I say the things about spadgery, it's like it balances the mind and the body, right? Part of why it's balancing the mind and the body is it's helping to bring in these higher aspects of consciousness that allows our brain to function better, our emotions to feel better, but it makes our body heal at a much faster rate. You know, the lower consciousness is really tied to surviving, defending, and then degenerating, like the downward spiral. And so it's a way to shift out of patterns that you might not even recognize as patterns, but they're there. And then as you kind of shift out of them, you realize like you might recognize them, you might not, but all of a sudden your emotions feel a little nicer and you're a little bit happier and things are a little bit more elevated and the mind's a little bit, more positive and not as repetitive. And then all of a sudden you go, my body feels better. It's that blossoming of the flower. Like you're shifting something deep within inside you that eventually manifests as how your body's feeling, how your body's functioning, how you're doing, the emotions, the mind. And so the more you work the regenerative state, the more you keep elevating your consciousness. So it's kind of what you try to do in meditation. It's what you try to do in certain types of meditation. And, we touch it in meditation, and then it's like, oh, this feels amazing. And then the next day, it's like, I went to work and now it's gone. It's a way to elevate and touch it and then not let go of it. And so that's the part that I personally like is, you know, you have this nice experience, you make this shift, and then you go into kind of a situation that might not be that nice, but you don't end up letting go of it. You're still holding on to that state. So we're going to treat a bunch of different aspects and tie it all together. There'll be very clinical things, very straightforward things, and then there'll be little practices that you can do on a daily basis or, once a week or whatever it is. But yeah, it'll be a nice one.
And it's a free class, guys.
Yeah, it's a super free class. A lot of it is all stuff that oils that you guys have. And, I don't know that there's anything new in there. There might be I think there's an etheric quartz premium if you have the choice. Yeah. Yeah.